I arrived for dinner with another woman. My wife yelled, "What is going on?" We walked in silently. "Your lover's wife wants to talk," I said. My wife froze. What happened next was beautiful. All right, Reddit. 8 years of marriage, and I thought I knew my wife very well. Turns out there's one mood I hadn't cataloged yet. I'm screwing your buddy and you're too stupid to notice. Well, she was wrong about the last part. Grab your popcorn and listen to this shit show till the end. It's absolutely worth it. The whole thing started subtle. Melissa and I, 34 male, had been doing couples game nights with our friends Chris and Ariel every other Friday for like 3 years. A little bit about us. I owned a boat repair and sales business. Melissa did corporate sales for a big hotel chain. Chris was an insurance broker, and Ariel worked as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company. Standard suburban friendship package. But around February, Melissa started doing this thing where she'd get all dressed up for game night. Like way more effort than she put in for date nights with me. We're talking about those expensive jeans, the perfume she saves for special occasions, hair done like she had a photo shoot, makeup, the works. Now don't get me wrong, I never have a problem with this. But it was new for my wife, who'd always kept it simple and natural. So one Friday, I watched her spend 40 minutes on her makeup. "Are you getting ready for the Oscars or something?" I joked. She didn't even turn around. "I like to look nice." "Is that a crime now?" "No, but we're going 2 blocks away to eat chips and throw cards." She finally looked at me in the mirror. "Maybe if you cared about how you looked, I'd put in less effort elsewhere." Silence. I was wearing clean jeans and a shirt. Apparently, I should have shown up in a 3-piece suit. "The heck do you mean?" I asked. "Nothing, sweetie. Let me finish." She smiled. At Chris and Ariel's place that night, I noticed other shit. She laughed way too hard at Chris's jokes, even though they were terrible. I'm talking dad joke at a funeral level bad. "Why don't scientists trust atoms?" Chris asked, grinning. "Because they make up everything." Melissa nearly spit out her drink laughing. Ariel gave her husband that embarrassed look. I just sat there, cringed hard. Then I caught it. She touched Chris's arm when she laughed. Chris's eyes did this little flicker thing. Quick glance at her hand, then at me, then back to the table like nothing happened. Ariel was in the kitchen grabbing more drinks and missed it. I filed it away in the mental folder labeled "Weird Shit to Investigate Later." The next morning, Melissa was up early. Saturday morning, and she was dressed like she had a business meeting. "Where you headed?" "Gym. Then some errands." "Which gym?" "The usual." "Why are you interrogating me?" "Because you hate the gym and it's 8 a.m. on a Saturday. You usually don't achieve consciousness until 10. She grabbed her keys with this annoyed huff. "I'm trying to be healthier. Sorry if that bothers you." She was gone for 4 hours. Came back with 1 grocery bag. 4 hours for a single bag containing yogurt and granola. I'm not a detective, but I can do basic math. This wasn't adding up. My brother Danny stopped by the shop on Tuesday. He's younger than me by 3 years, but somehow has his shit together better. He's a physical therapist, married to a woman who actually likes him, lives in one of those houses where everything matches. He took one look at me and knew something was off. "How's Melissa?" "Fine." "Why?" "Because you look like someone shit in your coffee and you drank it anyway just to prove a point." "Poetic." "She's been weird lately." "Weird how?" I told him about the gym visits, the game night situation, the general vibe that I'd become an NPC in my own marriage. Danny shook his head. "Daniel, I love you, but you're being a dumbass. Check her phone." "I'm not checking her phone." That's psycho behavior. More psycho than pretending everything's fine while your wife's probably getting railed by someone else? He had a point. I hated that he had a point. That night I tried the direct approach. Sat Melissa down. Told her I felt like we were roommates who occasionally made eye contact. "I need to know if something's going on. If you're done with this, just say it." She sighed. "You're being dramatic. I've been busy with work. The Riverside contract is killing me." "The Riverside contract. Right. Is that what we're calling it?" Her eyes went cold. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're gone all the time. You're distant when you're here. And you look at me like I'm an obligation you forgot to cancel." She went upstairs. I sat there for another hour thinking. Friday rolled around again. Game night at our place this time. I grilled burgers, made my famous garlic fries. Chris and Ariel showed up at 7. Chris walked in with this energy I can only describe as peacocking. Tight shirt, hair styled like he'd just stepped out of a salon. "Got a haircut today." He touched his head like he was in a shampoo commercial. "Trying something new." Melissa's eyes lit up. "It looks amazing. Really brings out your jawline?" I nearly dropped the spatula. Since when? Chris's jawline looked like it was built by a committee that couldn't agree on angles. The night got worse. They kept having these little moments. She'd pass him a drink and their hands would touch too long. He'd make another garbage joke and she'd laugh like it was Chris Rock's best work. Ariel noticed too. I could see it in how she went quiet. Around 10, Melissa went to the bathroom. Chris checked his phone, smirked at something, then got up. "Gonna grab another drink," he announced to nobody in particular. He walked past the kitchen where the drinks were and headed toward the hallway, where the bathroom was. I looked at Ariel. She looked at me. We both knew. I stood up. "Forgot something in the garage. Be right back." Instead, I went to the hallway. Stood around the corner. Sure enough, Chris was waiting outside the bathroom door like a freaking creep. Melissa came out. They didn't see me. He whispered something. She smiled, touched his chest. He grabbed her hand, squeezed it, let go when they heard Ariel laugh at something on her phone in the living room. I walked back to the garage. Stood there for a minute, letting my blood pressure do its thing. Then I grabbed a random screwdriver I didn't need and went back inside. The rest of the night I played it cool. Laughed at the right times, made conversation, watched my wife eye screw my friend while his wife sat 3 feet away drinking and pretending her marriage wasn't imploding. After they left, Melissa went straight to bed without a word. I stayed up and opened our credit card statement online. Started seeing charges I didn't recognize at first, then recognized them all too well. Lunch spots on days she said she was at the office. A hotel charge from 2 weeks ago, when she told me she was at a hospitality conference in the city. The conference was local. I pulled it up on my phone. Her hotel chain hosted it at their flagship property, 20 minutes from our house. She'd charged a hotel room. To screw Chris. The rage started building slowly, like pressure in a sealed container. By the time I finished going through 6 months of statements, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I took screenshots of everything on my phone, opened a separate bank account the next morning online, and transferred half our joint savings. If shit was going where I thought it was going, I wasn't about to get cleaned out. Monday afternoon, I texted Ariel. Coffee this week? Need to talk about something. She replied within a minute. Thursday work? 2 p.m.? We met at a place downtown, far from anywhere either of our spouses would randomly show up. Ariel looked tired. She didn't waste time. You know, don't you? Yeah. You? She nodded. Been suspecting for a while. Found a receipt in his pocket last month. Dinner for 2 at that Italian place he claims he hates. Said it was a business dinner. On Valentine's Day? She laughed. No humor in it. March 2nd, week after Valentine's. I got flowers and a card. She apparently got lobster. I slid my phone across the table. Showed her the credit card charges, the hotel receipt, screenshots of text I'd finally managed to see where Melissa talked to her friend Jenna about seeing him and how exciting it was. I'd grabbed her phone while she was in the shower that morning. Ariel looked at everything. Her face didn't change. She just absorbed it like she'd been preparing for this moment. She looked up. What do you want to do about it? I asked. I want to burn it down. She said it calm as ordering coffee. But smart. I'm listening. We spent 2 hours planning. Turns out Ariel's not just a logistics coordinator. She's got a finance background from before kids, used to work in auditing, handles their household accounts, knows where every dollar goes. And Chris had been sloppy. He's been pulling money from our joint account, she said. Small amounts. Told me it was for client dinners and golf outings. Let me guess. No golf outings. She shook her head. I checked with his regular golf buddies through their wives. He hasn't played in 2 months. We compared notes. The timeline matched perfectly. Charges lined up. Dates they were both busy aligned. There was this one text I showed Ariel, the one I'd screenshotted from Melissa's phone that morning. Melissa to Jenna. Chris's wife is so clueless, LOL. We literally made out in his car outside their house last week while she was inside. Ariel's jaw clenched. That was last Thursday. I was home with a migraine. How do you want to play this? She thought for a minute, then smiled. Chris's company is having their annual dinner next month. Big fancy thing, all the partners and clients. He's up for a promotion. She leaned forward. Melissa's hotel chain is providing the venue and catering this year, right? Yeah. She mentioned it. Said she had to coordinate it for work. Perfect. Let's give them a night they won't forget. Started coordinating. She'd dig into Chris's finances more. I'd keep tracking Melissa's movements. We'd meet weekly to compare notes and plan. Before we left, Ariel grabbed my hand across the table. Thank you for not making me feel crazy. You're not crazy. They're just assholes. Then we walked out separately, like 2 people who just had a forgettable business meeting. That night, I went home and made dinner. Melissa came home at 8. Said she'd worked late. How was work? Exhausting. The usual. She didn't notice I'd opened a separate account. Didn't notice I'd moved money. She ate, scrolled her phone, and went to bed. I stayed up late. Started making a folder on my laptop. Every piece of evidence organized like I was building a legal case. My phone buzzed. Ariel. Found a credit card I didn't know about. He's been hiding charges. Hotel rooms, jewelry, lots of jewelry. She didn't get the jewelry. I know. Attached a photo. It was a screenshot of a credit card statement. 5 different jewelry purchases over 3 months. Total, $4 grand. The next day, I checked Melissa's jewelry box while she was at work. Nothing new. No recent additions I could identify. Told Ariel. She replied, he's buying gifts for your wife with our money, and I'm supposed to be the oblivious housewife. Cute. This was going to be fun. Ariel and I met every Thursday for coffee. She brought a notebook to our 3rd meeting. Opened it up. Chris has been withdrawing cash. Not from our joint account. He opened a new one I wasn't supposed to know about. But I found the statements in his gym bag when I was doing laundry. How much? 12 grand over 4 months. Jesus, on what? She flipped a page. Hotels, restaurants. He took her to that resort in Scottsdale for a weekend. Told me it was a work trip. She showed me photos she'd printed from the resort's website. Then Chris's credit card statement. The charges matched. Mid-March weekend. I checked my phone calendar. Melissa told me she was visiting her sister that weekend. Her sister lives 2 hours away in Phoenix. I called her sister yesterday. Asked casually if Melissa made it okay that weekend back in March. Ariel watched me. What did the sister say? Said Melissa canceled last minute. Some work emergency. We sat there for a second. Then both started laughing. The kind of laugh you do when shit's so absurd you either crack up or crack in half. We're living in a budget porno. Ariel snorted into her coffee. At least pornos have better dialogue. Over the next 3 weeks, we gathered everything. Phone records. Hundreds of texts and calls between them. Most deleted from their actual phones but still on the carrier records, credit card statements, hotel receipts. But we still needed visual proof. Something undeniable. That's when I decided to take matters into my own hands. The following Wednesday, I called in sick to work. Then I sat in my truck outside Melissa's office building and waited. Sure enough, around 11:30, Melissa walked out. Not alone, Chris was with her. They got into his car together. I followed them from a distance, staying a few cars back like I was in a shitty spy movie. They drove to a hotel about 20 minutes away. I parked across the street in a grocery store lot, pulled out my phone, started taking pictures. Made sure location services were on so they'd be timestamped and geotagged. 2 hours later, them coming out. Chris adjusting his collar. Melissa fixing her hair and checking her reflection in a car window. Got it all. Clear faces. Sent everything to Ariel immediately. She replied, "Beautiful. I did the same thing last week. Wednesday seems to be their day. We had them dead to rights." The company dinner was 2 weeks away. Chris had been preening around like he'd already gotten the promotion. Melissa kept talking about the event. Ariel and I finalized our plan over Thai food that Thursday. Here's what we do. Ariel pulled up the seating chart for the dinner on her phone. I volunteered to help organize it since they needed someone who understood logistics, so I helped arrange the tables. Chris and I are at table 4 with his boss and the senior partners. You and Melissa, table 6, with her regional manager and the corporate sales team. Perfect. Ariel smiled. I'm going to give a toast. A toast? She nodded. Chris thinks I'm doing the supportive wife thing, talking him up for his promotion. Standard corporate spouse BS. But I'm going to toast to honesty, loyalty, partnership, all while this plays in the background. She showed me her laptop. She'd created a photo slideshow in PowerPoint. Said she told the event organizer it was a tribute to company values. At first glance, it looked like a sweet montage of couples and company success. Stock photos mixed with some real company photos. But mixed in, subtle at first then more obvious, were our photos. The ones we'd taken. Time-stamped, geotagged, clear as day. That's wild. She closed the laptop. I'm not going down quiet. And neither should you. I raised my cup. To burning it all down. To salted earth. She smiled. The 2 weeks crawled by. Melissa kept up her routine. Chris and Ariel came over for game night one more time, and Chris had the audacity to win at Scrabble and gloat about it. Ariel played her role perfectly. Supportive wife. Meanwhile, she was about to nuke his career from orbit. The night before the dinner, Melissa actually asked me to help her zip up her dress. How do I look? You look great. She smiled. First real smile she'd given me in months. Thanks. This event's a big deal for work. Could lead to a promotion if I handle it well. Yeah, I bet. The company dinner was at this downtown hotel ballroom. 200 people. Open bar. Fancy multi-course meal. I wore my good suit, the one I kept for weddings and funerals. Melissa wore a black dress. We arrived separately. I walked in at 7, found table 6. Melissa was already there, laughing with her co-workers. She saw me, waved, and went back to her conversation. Chris and Ariel were at table 4. Ariel caught my eye across the room, gave the tiniest nod. Showtime. Dinner started. Speeches happened. Chris's boss talked about company values, integrity, trust, partnership. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast. Then came the recognition portion. They called up 3 people getting promoted. Chris was the last one. He walked up to the stage like he'd already won an Oscar, shook hands, accepted his new title, Senior Account Director. Ariel stood and clapped with everyone else, smiled like a proud wife. When Chris sat back down, Ariel stood up again, clinked her glass with a fork. The room quieted down gradually. I'd like to say a few words if that's okay. Chris's face went confused but pleased. Ariel walked to the front. The organizer handed her a microphone. She looked completely calm. What happened next was caught on at least a dozen phones. But I'll tell you how it felt in real time. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. She paused. Chris worked so hard. Late nights, weekend trips, client meetings. She clicked the remote she'd gotten from the AV guy. Told him she had a surprise presentation for her husband. The big screen behind her lit up. In fact, he's been working so hard, I wanted to share some of his recent achievements. The slideshow started. At first it looked normal. Photos of Chris at work events. At the office. Shaking hands. Then it shifted. A photo of Chris and Melissa entering a hotel. Another. Chris and Melissa at a restaurant. Holding hands across the table. The room went silent. Ariel kept talking. These are my husband's real achievements. 6 months of lying. $12,000 of our joint savings spent on hotels and restaurants and gifts. She clicked again. Bank statements appeared on screen. Charges. Hotels. Jewelry stores. Restaurants. Chris stood up. Face red. Ariel, what the heck? Ariel cut him off. I'm not done. She looked at the screen. This jewelry? $4,000. None of it for me. She looked directly at Melissa. Did you get the earrings, or did he cheap out? Melissa's face had gone white. Everyone was staring. Her regional manager, her co-workers, random people from Chris's insurance firm. I stood up, walked to the front. Melissa had been working hard too, I said. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the presentation system, showed everything I had. Then I showed the screenshot. Melissa to Jenna. Chris's wife is so clueless, LOL. We literally made out in his car outside their house last week while she was inside. Ariel walked up next to me. I was inside with a migraine that night, wondering why my husband was taking 45 minutes to check the mail. The room was dead silent. People were holding their phones. some recording. This was going to be on every group chat and social media page by morning. Some were just holding their laughs. Chris tried to salvage it. This is insane. You're both. This is slander. Ariel held up a folder. These are divorce papers. Already filed. Already served. You can pick up your stuff from the driveway. I had the locks changed this afternoon. I pulled out my own folder. Same for you, Melissa. Separate accounts established. You'll hear from my lawyer Monday. Melissa stood up. The panic in her eyes was priceless. She tried to walk toward me. Daniel, can we just... No. I kept my voice level. We can't. Chris's boss stood up. Older guy, looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Mr. Harrison, we're going to need to have a conversation on Monday morning. First thing. Chris's face crumbled. Sir, this is a misunderstanding. The boss looked at the screen, still showing the bank statements, the evidence. Is it a misunderstanding that you used company time for personal affairs? That you falsified expense reports? Ariel smiled. I highlighted those too. Bottom of page 3 in the packet I emailed you yesterday, sir. 6 different expense reports claiming client dinners. I cross-referenced with Chris's actual calendar from his company laptop, which he leaves open at home, and the client contact logs from your CRM system that I could access through Chris's saved passwords. None of those clients were even in town on those dates. Melissa grabbed her purse, tried to leave. I stepped aside, let her go. She practically ran out of the ballroom. Chris followed 30 seconds later, after his boss said something sharp and quiet. 200 people were staring. Some looked shocked, some looked sympathetic. A few were definitely amused. Dessert is probably still coming, I said into the mic. Shame to waste it. A few people laughed. Someone near the back started clapping. Then a few others joined in. Ariel and I walked out together, left our respective spouses to deal with the fallout. Outside the hotel, we stood under the valet awning. My hands were still shaking from the adrenaline. That went well, Ariel said. Better than expected. She checked her phone. Someone already tagged me in a TikTok. Of course they did. We stood there for a minute. Then Ariel started laughing. Real laughing. I started laughing too. We stood there like two idiots cackling under the city lights while our marriages burned down behind us. Want to get a drink? Ariel asked. Why not? We walked 3 blocks to a dive bar, ordered drinks, sat in a back booth. Didn't talk about the dinner at first. Didn't talk about our exes. Just talked about normal stuff. Movies, music, how Danny was trying to convince me to get into cycling and I'd rather eat glass. Around midnight, Ariel's phone buzzed. She checked it, laughed. Chris is asking where I am, says we need to talk. Melissa texted me 6 times. I held up my phone. We both muted our phones. Made a toast to it. The next morning, my phone had 87 missed calls and about 200 texts. Most from Melissa. Some from her friends trying to defend her. A few from mutual friends asking what the heck happened. Danny called at 8 a.m. Dude, you're a legend. Someone sent me the video. There's a video? There are multiple videos. You guys broke the internet. The main one has like 100,000 views already. Great. He laughed. How you feeling? Like I just took out the trash and realized how much space it was taking up. It felt good. But the real come down was about to start. Melissa came by around noon. I'd changed the locks like Ariel did. Went to Home Depot first thing. Took me 2 hours to swap them out. She rang the doorbell. Knocked. Eventually started yelling through the door. Daniel, open up. We need to talk. I opened it. Didn't let her in. You humiliated me, she hissed. How could you? You humiliated yourself. I just held up a mirror. That was cruel. In front of everyone? You screwed our friend for 6 months. You spent our money on your affair. I held up the folder with her stuff inventory. Here's the list of your belongings. Everything's in boxes in the garage. You can pick it up this weekend. Bring someone to help you carry it. You can't just kick me out of my house. Actually, I can. The house is in my name. You're welcome to dispute it with your lawyer. Mine says I'm in the clear. Her face cycled through about 6 emotions. Landed on desperate. Baby. She reached for me. I stepped back. We can fix this. Counseling. Therapy. Whatever you want. I don't want anything from you. She tried tears. They didn't work. You'll regret this, she said. Venom creeping back in. Doubt it. But you might regret spending 6 months on a guy who got fired and is now living in a motel because his wife locked him out. Her eyes flickered. Chris got fired? This morning. His boss called him at 7 a.m. Falsifying expense reports is apparently frowned upon. Also, morality clause in his contract. Conducting an affair using company resources. He's done. She stood there, processing, then left without another word. I closed the door, went back to my coffee. Chris tried a different approach. He showed up at my shop that Wednesday. And honestly, the ball's on this guy. I was going over a restoration estimate with my lead tech, Miguel, when his car pulled into the lot. Chris walked over, tried to look casual, failed miserably. Daniel, man, can we talk? We are talking. Alone? I gestured at the empty lot. Pretty alone right now, Chris. He shifted his weight, uncomfortable. Look, I know things got messy. Messy. I nodded. That's one word for it. But we're adults. We can move past this. I stared at him. You screwed my wife for 6 months. Spent 12 grand doing it. Got yourself fired. Got her reputation nuked. And you want to move past it? He actually looked offended. Like I was being unreasonable. It wasn't just physical. We connected. Really connected. Oh good. That makes it so much better. You're being a jerk about this. I'm being a jerk? I set down my clipboard. Chris, you're lucky I'm not pressing charges for the money you embezzled from your company to fund your little fest. His face went pale. I didn't. That's not. Ariel documented everything. She's got copies. So does HR at your former employer. They're still deciding if they want to pursue it. So unless you want that to escalate, I'd suggest you back off and never contact me, Ariel, or anyone in our circle again. Chris tried to puff up. Failed at that too. You don't own people? Miguel stepped forward. He's built like he throws kegs for fun. Boss said back off. Need a translation? Chris left. Miguel shook his head. That guy's a simp. Yep. Meanwhile, Ariel was dealing with her own fallout. Chris had tried to clean out their accounts before she locked him out. She'd been faster. Got a lawyer. Froze everything. Filed first. We met again that Friday. Our new tradition, apparently. She looked lighter. Chris's lawyer called mine, she said. Wants to negotiate. Negotiate what? He thinks he deserves half of everything because we were married for 10 years. She laughed. What did your lawyer say? That Chris can negotiate with a wall for all he cares. We have documentation of dissipation of marital assets. He spent 12 grand on the affair. That gets deducted from his share. Plus, my lawyer's going for full reimbursement since I can prove it wasn't for marital purposes. She sipped her latte. Also, Chris's parents called. Want me to reconsider. Reconsider what? Divorcing their precious boy. Apparently, I'm ruining his life. Over the next few weeks, things settled into a new rhythm. I worked, hung out with Danny, hit the gym with Miguel, started actually enjoying my house. Ariel and I kept meeting for coffee. Then coffee turned into lunch. Then lunch turned into her coming by the house to help me figure out what furniture to keep and what to sell, since Melissa wanted half of everything. We didn't plan it, didn't force it, just kind of happened naturally. One Saturday, we took our dogs hiking. She had a golden retriever named Moose. I had a mutt named Steve. They got along better than our exes ever did. Steve's a weird name for a dog, Ariel said as we walked the trail. He came with it. Shelter dog. Figured changing it would confuse him. How considerate. I'm a considerate guy. She looked at me. Yeah, you are. Something shifted that day. Just a quiet realization that we worked together. Not just as revenge partners, but as actual people who made each other laugh and didn't have to perform. 2 months after the dinner, my divorce was final. Melissa tried to fight it. Wanted alimony. Her lawyer took one look at the evidence of the affair and advised her to take the settlement I offered. State law says infidelity affects asset division. She signed, I signed, done. Ariel's took a little longer. Chris contested everything. Dragged it out for 4 months. But eventually, even his lawyer got tired of his BS and convinced him to settle. The day Ariel's divorce finalized, we went to that same dive bar where we'd gone after the dinner and celebrated. We clinked glasses. So what now? Now? I shrugged. Whatever we want, she smiled. I like the sound of that. 6 months after the dinner from hell, life had gotten weirdly good. My business was doing well. Ariel's career bounced back even better. She left her logistics coordinator job and started her own supply chain consulting firm. Started small. Did some contract work, built up a client base. Her first major client, Chris's old insurance company. They hired her to overhaul their vendor management system. The irony was so perfect. We'd been dating officially for 3 months. Took our time. She was over at my place most weekends now. Our dogs had become inseparable. They'd curl up together on the couch while Ariel and I cooked dinner, or watched whatever show we were binging. Danny loved her. First time I brought her to family dinner, he pulled me aside. If you screw this up, I'm disowning you. Good thing I'm not planning to screw it up. She's too good for you. Shut up, Danny. Miguel loved her too. She'd started coming by the shop with drinks for the crew sometimes. Won them over immediately. Your woman brings quality espresso, Miguel said one morning. She's a keeper. Noted. Also, she laughed at my joke about the cement mixer. She has a good sense of humor. Your jokes are terrible. She laughed anyway. We didn't advertise the relationship much publicly. We weren't doing it for show. But of course, news travels. And eventually it got back to Melissa. I was at Home Depot on a Saturday when I saw her. She was with some guy I didn't recognize. Young. Probably mid-20s. Wearing a graphic tee and ripped jeans like he was auditioning for a boy band reunion tour. She saw me. Daniel, hey. Melissa. The guy next to her looked confused. This is Connor, she said. My boyfriend. Connor stuck out his hand. I shook it. Felt bad for him, honestly. Kid had no idea. Nice to meet you, Connor. Word of advice? Check the credit cards regularly. Connor laughed nervously. Melissa's face went red. I grabbed my card. Have a good day. Wait. She stepped forward. I heard you're with Ariel now. Yep. That's... She searched for words. Fast. You know what I mean. We barely got divorced and you're already... Already what? Happy? Yeah. She's great. And doesn't screw someone else behind my back. Novel concept, right? The guy Connor shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should go, Mel. She ignored him. Her face was hardening. She was about to say something, but I walked away. Left her standing there with boy band Connor. Got home. Ariel was in the kitchen making pancakes. Steve and Moose were laying in a sunbeam, looking like a dog food commercial. We ate. Made plans to go hiking later. Normal Saturday. The kind of day that feels good because it's simple and real and not built on lies. 10 months after the dinner, Ariel and I decided to get married. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Danny was my best man. Miguel offered to help cater it as his gift. We planned to say our vows under an oak tree at a small venue outside town, with both dogs standing between us as witnesses. No public spectacles. We were genuinely happy together and wanted to build something. But the universe wasn't done with comedy yet. The day arrived. Perfect weather. Everyone showed up. The venue looked beautiful. Ariel's sister helped her get ready while Danny made sure I didn't screw up my tie. We were about 15 minutes from starting when I heard raised voices from the parking lot. "What now?" Danny said. We walked over, and there she was. Melissa, stumbling across the gravel in heels too high for someone in her condition. Hair a mess. Makeup running like she'd been crying. Dress that looked like she'd grabbed it off a clearance rack at 3 a.m. She was drunk. Or high. Maybe both. And honestly, I should have expected something like this. "You!" She pointed at me with a shaking hand. "You can't do this!" Ariel appeared next to me. Looked at Melissa with more pity than anger. Then at me. "Want me to call the venue security?" We'd hired Miguel's cousin who did bouncing at clubs part-time to handle any issues. Smart move in retrospect. But before I could signal him, Melissa lurched forward. "This is wrong!" She was shouting now. Everyone had stopped what they were doing. Guests were staring. "Ariel, you stole my husband!" Ariel raised an eyebrow. "I didn't steal anything. You threw him away and I picked him up." Melissa's face twisted with anger and tears. "You planned this. Both of you. You wanted to ruin my life." Danny stepped forward. "Melissa, you need to leave. Now." She tried to push past him, lost her balance, grabbed the edge of a nearby table to steady herself. The table with some appetizers, and unfortunately, samples of our wedding cake we'd set out for guests to try. "Oh shit," Miguel muttered from somewhere behind me. "This is where it got beautiful." Melissa regained her footing and lunged toward us again. Danny, bless him, moved on pure instinct. He grabbed the nearest thing, which happened to be a plate with a slice of sample cake, and in a panic to keep her from getting closer, he basically pushed it toward her defensively. The slice hit Melissa in the chest and slid up to her face, leaving frosting smeared across her neck and chin. She froze. Cake dripping, frosting in her hair, icing sliding down her dress. The entire venue went silent. Then Miguel started laughing, that infectious laugh that makes everyone else crack. Within seconds, half the guests were trying not to lose it. Danny looked at his hand, looked at Melissa, then at me. Oops. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help. I started laughing too. Ariel buried her face in my shoulder, shoulders shaking. Melissa wiped frosting from her chin. "You both!" She couldn't form words, just sputtered. Reached for the table again, maybe to grab something to throw back. But Miguel's cousin, all 6'5", 250 pounds of him, finally stepped in. "Time to go, ma'am," he said. Took her gently by the elbow. "Get your hands off me." She tried to pull away. He didn't budge. "You can walk or I can escort you. Your choice." She tried to break free. Couldn't. So she did the next best thing. Started yelling. Incoherent BS about betrayal and karma, and how we'd all regret this. The bouncer escorted her toward the parking lot. She fought him the whole way, stumbling, shrieking, leaving a trail of cake crumbs. Connor, yes, the same Connor from Home Depot, appeared from somewhere, ran after her, tried to help. The bouncer handed her off. "Keep her away from the venue," the bouncer said, "or I'm calling the cops." Connor nodded frantically. "Got it. I'm so sorry. She said she just wanted to drop off a card." "Yeah," Ariel said dryly. "That went well." They left, finally. The parking lot cleared. Danny looked at the remaining cake. "Still got most of it left. We're good." Miguel walked over, phone in hand. "Brother, I got it on video. The whole thing." He held up his phone. "Want me to send it to you?" "Absolutely." Ariel shook her head, but she was smiling. "She showed up drunk to ruin our wedding. But failed spectacularly," Danny added. "Because I have excellent panic reflexes?" Ariel started laughing again. I pulled her close. "You okay?" She looked at me. At the venue full of people who were now talking excitedly and probably already texting everyone they knew. "Yeah," she smiled. "Actually, I'm great." That was the most satisfying disaster I've ever witnessed. We cleaned up. The ceremony started 20 minutes late. Nobody cared much. If anything, it broke the ice and gave everyone something to talk about. People were relaxed, laughing. By the time Ariel and I stood under that oak tree, the vibe was perfect. We said our vows, exchanged rings, kissed while everyone cheered, started our marriage the right way, honest, open, real. With our dogs as witnesses and the memory of Melissa wearing cake frosting as an accessory. 4 months after the wedding, Ariel got pregnant. When the test came back positive, we both cried. I called Danny. He whooped so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Life kept going, and it was good. Really good.